Hello to you in YouTube land. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to put cars into street scenes. It's quite difficult, but when you understand what's going on with perspective and foreshortening, then it all works out. Please subscribe, click the button or below to subscribe, or click the bell there so that you get notified when my YouTube videos are posted. And let me know in the comments how much you're enjoying the videos. I'd love to hear from you. If you're not on the email list, please go and sign up, because that way you get a heads up on what's going to happen on the Friday afternoon, and sometimes I include various images and information. The main thing I'm going to say is putting cars in your drawings, or paintings for that matter, is all about, you've guessed it, observation. It very much has to do with perspective, in particular, in this case, something called single point perspective, and that is because all of the lines are going towards a single vanishing point on the screen, and or on the picture, or when you're looking at something. And I will remind you that eye level is horizon line, and I'm just going to change color to my usual bright pink, and I'm going to draw. And see this lady who is standing on the side here. Let's give her some hips and legs like we did the other day, shall we? Makes it so easy when we do that. Okay, so her eye level is halfway on her head. And can you see that her eye level, excuse the crooked line, her eye level pretty much matches the eye level on the picture. Eye level is the same as horizon. Now, the person taking this photograph, it is that person's eye level, or the camera's eye level, that is important. If he had held that camera round about his belly button, then the eye of the camera would have dropped down, and it would have been that horizon that we would be viewing it from. But as I've indicated with that person there, and you can see the other people in the dark shadow there, the viewer's, the photographer's eye level is more or less at the same height as that lady. And so the eye level is the same. That vertical line is a parallel line that is going towards the horizon. And if I look at this, the line of that building there, if I look at the line of that, the line of that, so it's all the lines that I'm talking about are on the side of the street. And now we look at the cars, the sides of the cars, so the side of that yellow taxi is parallel to the side of the building and the side of the road. The side of all of these cars, because they're traveling on the road that we're looking at, they are parallel to the sides of the building. So you know, when you do a parallel park, you park parallel to the building. And if I follow the lines through, you will see more or less they all fit in with the parallel lines. Now, this taxi has got an extra bit on its roof, and if you imagine standing next to your car, or standing next to a taxi that's got that sign on the roof, think about it logically. You can peer over the top of your car, usually. Of course, depending on what kind of car you've got. If you've got a high four-wheel drive, maybe not. But your ordinary sedan or your ordinary car, if somebody's getting into the passenger seat, you often say something quickly to that person, and then you duck down and get into the car. So you know that the car is kind of just below eye level. you can see with a taxi, if you imagine a sign on the board, can you see how that person's eye line is more or less in line with that taxi? Now, can you also see that that line, that's our horizon, is just above most of these cars? They are all below the horizon because the horizon is our eye level, and they happen to be all below your eye level. So if there was a bus in the street and it was a double-decker, the front of the bus might be over there and it would go backwards like that. That's what the shape of the bus would be, because it is following those pink lines that I drew, and I drew them from the lines that were already in the picture. Cars fit into box shapes. So even if it is a fancy car, side of the car is a box like that, the front of the car. So the person who's taken the photograph has ducked down a little bit so that you're not looking onto the bonnet. And we can kind of imagine, so I'm turning it into a box on a box. And in fact, going to be a little bit crooked here. So if we actually take that away, that is the general shape that we're going to be fitting the car into. The reason I know that the person has ducked down to take this photograph is because we cannot see the top of the roof, which means that we can only see the side. So I knew that we couldn't, because we couldn't see on top, that our eye level was below the top. A street scene in Thailand, parallel lines in perspective moving away from you get smaller until they reach a vanishing point, which is our horizon. The vanishing point is always on the horizon. Now this car, obviously, we can see the whole of the side of that car. Now I know it's got a sloped window and all of those things, but generally speaking, cars are boxes. So I'm going to be using the whiteboard marker, and here I can use a ruler so I can show you more carefully what I was showing you on the screen. Sometimes these lines are way more steep than we think. And in fact, as I'm finding these marks on the building there, I'm quite surprised at how steep they are. And then I've just shifted my, let me bring it back. There you go. And have a look at how steep the top of these buildings is. And lo and behold, they also find themselves at the vanishing point. Now, these buildings here, these are the sides of the building, so they are not parallel. The parallel part is this side here. Okay? I know it's a tiny, tiny picture. When you can see a car on its side, and you can see directly at its side, I know this one's not direct, but you can see most of the side there, you will see that that's longer than that. Okay, so I'll just let you know. So, and we know clearly that the side of a car is longer than the front of the car. Okay, we know that. There you go. However, when a car is foreshortened, in other words, facing you, so if my hand is that wide, as it turns to face you, it gets narrower, narrower, narrower in view. And so if a car is pointing directly at you, like that one, all we can see is the front and we can't see the sides at all. So when it comes to cars that are foreshortened, we need to pay attention to the distance between the front and the back corner of the car, and one back corner to the other back corner. So that car, you can clearly see, is foreshortened. So the section that we want to think is the longest section, the side of the car, is actually not. It is the back of the car that is wider when we observe it. So I can draw still with the plastic, and I can put a box on it, or I can put two boxes on it. I can put a box for the base section of the car, and then I can put a box, a smaller box, for the top section. It's really as simple as that. I know it's not simple because your brain just doesn't want to latch on to that. It's really difficult to believe in that foreshortening. So if we go back to that original photograph, that taxi, I know we can't see the full front of the taxi, but that taxi shape is like that, and the taxi would obviously, the front of it would be something like that. For me, preparation like this, finding out, exploring, investigating, being curious, is all that we need. Not all that we need, but it is the primary thing we need, but it's how we investigate that will help us to draw. So I was talking about these big four-wheel drives. Now obviously that is a photograph taken especially to promote that car, and again the photographer is actually down here somewhere because we can't see anything of the top, and we can only just see the top of the bonnet, and I think that's because the bonnet is a bit curved. I reckon he's ducked down right to there, to be honest, for that to see this car. So we can have a box doing that. Don't worry too much about the curve. The parallel lines will converge at the vanishing point, which is on the horizon. So if that's the parallel line there of the car, and that's the parallel line of the roof, that means we're converging about there on my ruler. And if I put, oh, I haven't got another ruler. If I put that straight, I'm nearly dead on where I thought the horizon was, the eye level of the photographer. So that's a good trick. When you match two parallel lines, they will appear to converge at the horizon. Wheels are cylinders. And what that means is when the wheel turns, or no, when we look at it sideways, like that one there, even that one isn't completely sideways, we get a circle. So that one's close to a circle, but when a circle turns away from us, it becomes an ellipse. So there's an ellipse there, and in fact the bottom of the tire is there, and there's another ellipse in there. Now I know that it is hidden by the car, but basically there is a cylinder for the wheel. So to reproduce that here, we've got an ellipse shape, and you can draw another ellipse shape like that, depending on the car, of course. And this then becomes your wheel. So we can rub that part out and that part out, and we end up with the wheel. So can you see how that would be a wheel? So it is quite important, in fact more than quite important, that you draw the wheels on the car at the angle that they should be relating to the car. Clearly this wheel is turned on this car, so it does not match the back wheel. So that is the shape of that wheel there, and it goes like that. And this is a very narrow ellipse, so you can see more of the inside of that wheel. And that wheel we can't actually see because it's in the shadow. You absolutely need to be aware of that cylindrical shape of cars. You can see how the front one is narrower than the back one. Now there's a reason. If the car is going straight, as this car is, it's not got its wheels turned like this one, which is parked. Following the laws of perspective, the front wheel is much smaller than the back wheel, even though it is only that far apart. It's quite small in the scheme of things. That just shows you how effective perspective is. So the laws of perspective say that as things get further and further away from you, they appear smaller, which is why the distance between these parallel lines gets smaller. Everything gets smaller, including this distance. So that wheel is that big, and that wheel is that big. So using my box technique, I'm going to go, wow, okay, that's quite steep. So the bottom of my box is also going to go quite steep. The next line, the corner of the box is there. So that's my front corner. That's the bottom corner. That's the middle there, which to me looks quite flat. Now proportions also come into it. How big is that compared with that? Because I want to do that box there, that side there. So I'm going to go, that's how big the front of the car is. How many times, whoops, I did that on the wrong end. No, that's fine. How many times does that go into the, only about 1.5. So that foreshortening is way shorter than I even thought. So on my picture, I'm going to go use a different side. So I'm going to go, the front of my box is that, and it goes 1.5 back. So the back of my box is there. How many of those fits into the back? Now I know this is getting very, very technical. If you do this once, then it'll start sinking in a bit better, so that if you're just sketching your cars in a street scene, you don't actually have to do this business, because you already understand the principle of the foreshortening. So that goes 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. That's 1, and it fits 1, 2, 2 and about 3/4. Okay, so the back of the car is like that. So I've made that section straight, but and it can go back like that. And now I'm going to put a box on top. Now the box on top is going to, oh, I don't think you can, my apologies, you haven't been seeing me measure. Have you been seeing me measure? So the box on top is going to go here. And in fact, I don't actually have to finish the actual box because I haven't got much foreshortening. I haven't got much angle there because that's almost straight. That's what I wanted to say. Can you see, if I put a line there where the bottom of the frame of the car is, the wheel is quite high up into the body of the car. Okay, so don't do what kids do or what we tend to do, which is to put those little wheels underneath. The wheel actually goes there. We can only see half of it sticking out, or more or less half. I'm not sure if it's quite half. Where you've actually got a street scene and you're drawing the cars in the street scene. And let's see if I can improve on my suggestion of cars. So remember, it's about enough information to get you seeing what you should be seeing. Remember, cars further away are smaller. So you can see that there is a suggestion of these cars. And that's what you're really looking for when you've got cars in street scenes. If there are cars on the road, they will, on a flat road, match just below your eye level. Because generally speaking, human beings, adults, are higher than cars. So that helps you out with your how to place the car. So it's about perspective. Cars in the front will be bigger than cars at the back, and they will get tinier and tinier, and they need to relate to the buildings and the people who are on either side. And the last thing to pay attention to is the foreshortening of vehicles moving away from you in that perspective. Karen Frankel signing out and saying, get drawing. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Hello to you in YouTube land. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to put cars into street scenes. It's quite difficult, but when you understand what's going on with perspective and foreshortening, then it all works out. Please subscribe, click the button or below to subscribe, or click the bell there so that you get notified when my YouTube videos are posted. And let me know in the comments how much you're enjoying the videos. I'd love to hear from you.